So this is where the new technology enters, right? And again, if you want to know the greater, finer details of this, head back to episode 50. But we've got Sana Biotechnology and Vertex Pharmaceuticals. Insulin producing beta cells with a regulated blood sugar within a 6-month to 1 year period post operation. Okay. By one line alone, that's awesome. We love healthy beta cells. We love insulin production. They are protected, right? Either the cells themselves prevent immune activation, that's the Sana biotechnology, or you have to use immunosuppressants alongside the transplants to prevent immune activation so that the beta cells can remain untouched. Neither of them are supplying any additional components to address the nutritional needs and the environmental needs of those beta cells, what I would argue caused the beta cells to flounder in the first place before the immune system came in. So the cures are basically saying, here are these beta cells. They make insulin, they regulate their blood sugars, and the immune system doesn't disrupt anything, right? And on the old timeline, this is outstanding. This is everything we needed because we had healthy beta cells and the immune system was the problem. So now that we took the immune system out of play, healthy beta cells now have the chance to repopulate and sustain. Everything's kind of, back to normal again. But what happens with this new understanding, right? Poor cellular environment, systemic struggle, liver, gut, nervous system, pancreas. The beta cells are like barely spitting out any insulin because they're struggling, and because they're struggling, the immune response comes in to clean it up. And so before you had dead beta cells without any resources to sustain healthy volume. Now with these new implants and no immune activation, you've got new beta cells that can't be attacked by the immune system, but they are still without the resources to sustain a healthy volume. There's holes there. So does this help with nutrient availability, organ system health, pathogen clearance, ROS and oxidative stress clearance? No, right? None of these cures are being presented with any sort of lifestyle modifications or even letting people know, like, hey, listen, these are ways to help sustain beta cells. It's just, here's the beta cells, should be fine in the system you've got, even though it didn't work so hot for the last beta cells you had. The immune system isn't the only problem, right? But if we're operating on a simpler understanding, an older, outdated understanding, then it's a fit. And they're just kind of going by with the assumption that that's enough and that's it, and hoping that nobody asks any further questions like what we're talking about here. And as a consumer of this technology, we have to balance like what we're willing to accept. Because yes, in the short term, I like beta cells that produce insulin. I like having normal blood sugars. And I like not having to worry about my immune system interfering. But am I protected from the pre-existing deficits that made my beta cells not viable in the first place? No, that's short term. That's kind of like a neutral, like, I hope everything turns out well. I love how it's been going this first year. I'm not sure what happens in the long term, right? And these are all question marks. These are not accusations. These are all questions from me. Again, this technology hasn't been around long enough to have any of these questions answered. But how long does that insulin production sustain? How long do those implanted cells survive without addressing the baseline needs from a nutrition standpoint? If we don't know that, we don't really know how long we have normal blood sugars. Again, you're protected from the immune interference, but as we come to find out, that may not be a good thing either. And then this systemic integrity. Our liver, has that improved at all? Have we done anything to improve it? What about our gut? What about our nervous system, right? So even if the beta cells themselves are protected and producing insulin, if you've got a bad liver, a bad gut, and a bad nervous system, you're working on borrowed time, because that's just going to present someplace else. You need the liver, you need the gut, you need the nervous system. And so does this make you vulnerable to new disease states?